Hey everyone, welcome to the channel where we celebrate, explore, and uncover the powerful stories of African American history that have shaped the world.
This isn't just about the past, it's about our roots, our resilience, and our future. Whether you're here to learn, reflect, or grow, you're in the right place. So hit the subscribe button and let's journey through history together, one story at a time. Today, we are here to learn about the life and legacy of Medgar Evers.
Medgar Evers was a prominent African American civil rights activist and NAACP field secretary in Mississippi.
Born in Decatur, Mississippi, he served in World War II before dedicating his life to fighting racial injustice. Evers worked tirelessly to dismantle segregation, advocating for voting rights, economic opportunities, and equal education for Black Americans. He played a key role in investigating crimes against Black individuals, including the Emmett Till case. His activism made him a target of white supremacists, and he was assassinated in his driveway in Jackson, Mississippi on June 12, 1963. His death galvanized the civil rights movement, and his legacy continues to inspire the fight for equality. Medgar Wiley Evers was born on July 2nd in 1925 in Decatur, Mississippi, the third of 5 children of Jesse Evers, née Wright, and James Evers. The family included Jesse's 2 older children from a previous marriage. The Evers family owned a small farm, and James also worked at a sawmill. Evers and his siblings walked 12 miles a day to attend racially segregated schools. Eventually, Medgar earned his high school diploma. In 1943, Evers enlisted in the United States Army at the age of 17. He was prompted to do so by the racism he experienced at home and his brother Charles's prior enlistment in the Army. Evers served in the 657th Port Company, a segregated unit of the Army's Transportation Corps, participating in the Normandy landings in June 1944. In France, Evers' unit was part of the Red Ball Express, which delivered supplies to Allied troops fighting on the front lines. During his time in the Army, Evers was angered by the segregation and mistreatment endured by the African American troops. Witnessing Black soldiers of the Free French forces being treated as equals of white troops, he once told his brother Charles that when we get out of the Army, we're going to straighten this thing out. In 1946, Evers was discharged from the Army at rank of Technician, 5th grade, having earned the Good Conduct Medal, European African Middle Eastern Campaign Medal, and the World War II Victory Medal. After returning to Decatur, Evers enrolled in the historically Black Alcorn Agricultural and Mechanical College in 1948, majoring in business administration. He also competed on the debate, football, and track teams, sang in the choir, and was elected as junior class president. Evers earned his Bachelor of Arts in 1952. On December 24, 1951, he married his classmate Merle Beasley. Together, they had 3 children, Daryl Kenyatta, Rena Denise, and James Van Dyke Evers. The couple moved to Mound Bayou, Mississippi, a town developed by African Americans after the Civil War. Evers became a salesman for T.R.M. Howard's Magnolia Mutual Life Insurance Company. Becoming active in the civil rights movement, he served as president of the Regional Council of Negro Leadership, which began to organize actions to end segregation. Evers helped organize the RCNL's boycott of those gasoline stations that denied Blacks the use of the station's restrooms. He and his brother Charles attended the RCNL's annual conferences in Mound Bayou between 1952 and 1954, which drew crowds of 10,000 or more. In 1954, following the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that segregated public schools were unconstitutional, Evers applied to the state-supported University of Mississippi Law School to challenge that practice in the state. His application was rejected due to his race, as the flagship school had long been segregated. Evers submitted his application as a part of a test case by the NAACP. On November 24, 1954, Evers was named as the NAACP's first field secretary for Mississippi. In this position, he helped organize boycotts and set up new local chapters of the NAACP. Evers was also involved with James Meredith's efforts to enroll in the University of Mississippi in the early 1960s. Evers also encouraged Dr. Gilbert Mason Sr. in his organizing of the Biloxi Wade-ins from 1959 to 1963, protests against the segregation of the city's public beaches on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Evers conducted actions to help integrate Jackson's privately owned buses and tried to integrate the public parks. Evers led voters' registration drives and used boycotts to integrate Leake County schools in the Mississippi State Fair. Evers' civil rights leadership, along with his investigative work, made him a target of white supremacists. Following the Brown v. Board of Education decision, local whites founded the White Citizens Council in Mississippi, and numerous local chapters were started to resist the integration of schools and facilities. In the weeks before Evers was killed, he encountered new levels of hostility. Evers' public investigation into the 1955 lynching of Chicago teenager Emmett Till in Mississippi and his vocal support of Clyde Kennard had made Evers a prominent black leader. On May 28, 1963, a Molotov cocktail was thrown into the carport of his home, and on June 7, 1963, Evers was nearly run down by a car after he came out of an NAACP office in Jackson, Mississippi. Evers lived with the constant threat of death. A large white supremacist population and the Ku Klux Klan were present in Jackson and its suburbs. The risk was so high that before his death, Evers and his wife Merle had trained their children on what to do in case of a shooting, bombing, or other kind of attack on their lives. Evers, who was regularly followed home by at least 2 FBI cars and a police car, arrived at his home on the morning of his death without an escort. None of his usual protection was present, for reasons unspecified by the FBI or local police. There has been speculation that many members of the police force at the time were members of the Klan. In the early morning of Wednesday, June 12, 1963, just hours after President John F. Kennedy's nationally televised civil rights address, Evers pulled into his driveway after returning from a meeting with the NAACP lawyers. His family had worried for his safety that day, and Evers himself had warned his wife that he felt in greater danger than usual. Emerging from his car carrying NAACP T-shirts that read, "Jim Crow must go," Evers was struck in the back with a bullet fired from an Eddystone Enfield 1917 rifle. The bullet passed through his heart. Initially thrown to the ground by the impact of the shot, Evers rose and staggered 30 feet before collapsing outside his front door. His wife Merle was the first to find him. Evers was taken to UMMC in Jackson, where he initially was refused entry because of his race. Evers' family explained who he was and he was admitted. Evers died in the hospital 50 minutes later, 3 weeks before his 38th birthday. Evers was the first black man to be admitted into an all-white hospital in Mississippi. More nationally, Evers was buried on June 19th in Arlington National Cemetery, where he received full military honors before a crowd of more than 3,000 people. After Evers was assassinated, an estimated 5,000 people marched from the Masonic Temple on Lynch Street to the Collins Funeral Home on North Ferris Street in Jackson. Alan Johnson, Martin Luther King Jr., and other civil rights leaders led the procession. The Mississippi police came to the nonviolent protest armed with riot gear and rifles. While tensions were initially high in the standoff between police and marchers, both in Jackson and in many similar marches around the state, leaders of the movement maintained nonviolence among their followers. On June 21, 1963, Byron de la Beckwith, a fertilizer salesman and member of the Citizens Council and later of the Ku Klux Klan, was arrested for Evans' murder. District Attorney and future Governor Bill Waller prosecuted de la Beckwith. All-white juries in February and in April 1964 deadlocked on de la Beckwith's guilt and failed to reach a verdict. At the time, most black people were still disenfranchised by Mississippi's Constitution and voters' registration practices. This meant that they were also excluded from juries, which were drawn from the pool of registered voters. Myrlie Evers did not give up the fight for the conviction of her husband's killer. She waited until a new judge had been assigned in the county to take her case against de la Beckwith back into the courtroom. In 1994, de la Beckwith was prosecuted by the state based on new evidence. Bobby DeLauder was the prosecutor. During the trial, the body of Evers was exhumed for autopsy. His body was embalmed and was in such good condition that his son was allowed to view his father's remains for the first time in 30 years. De la Beckwith was convicted of murder on February 5, 1994, and sentenced to life in prison after having lived as a free man for much of 3 decades following the killing. He had been in prison from 1977 to 1980 for conspiring to murder A.I. Botnick. In 1997, de la Beckwith appealed his convictions in the Evers case, but the Mississippi Supreme Court upheld it and the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear it. He died at the age of 80 in prison on January 21, 2001. In 1963, Evers was posthumously awarded the Spingham Medal by the NAACP. In 1969, Medgar Evers College was established in Brooklyn, New York, as part of the City University of New York. On June 28, 1992, in the city of Jackson, Mississippi, they erected a statue in honor of Evers. All of Delta Drive, part of U.S. Highway 49 in Jackson, was renamed in his honor. In December 2004, the Jackson City Council changed the name of the city's airport to Jackson Medgar Wiley Evers International Airport in Evers' honor. In June 2013, the statue of Evers was erected at his alma mater, Alcorn State University, to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Evers' death. Alumni and guests from around the world gathered to recognize his contributions to American society. Evers was also honored in a tribute at Arlington National Cemetery on the 50th anniversary of his death. Former President Bill Clinton, Attorney General Eric Holder, Navy Secretary Ray Mabus, Senator Roger Wicker, and NAACP President Benjamin Jealous all spoke commemorating Evers. Evers' widow, Myrlie Evers Williams, spoke of his contributions to the advancement of civil rights. Medgar was a man who never wanted adoration, who never wanted to be in the limelight. He was a man who saw a job that needed to be done, and he answered the call in the fight for freedom, dignity, and justice, not just for his people, but for all people. Evers was identified as a freedom hero by the My Hero Project. And in 2017, the Medgar and Myrlie Evers House was named as a National Historic Landmark. In 2019, this site was designated as a national monument. In 2024, Evers was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by former President Joe Biden. It's our responsibility to make sure his legacy continues to live on.
Thank you for watching, and remember, knowing our history isn't just about honoring the past.
It's about empowering our present and shaping our future. If this message spoke to you, make sure to like, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe because our stories matter and they deserve to be told. Until next time, stay rooted, stay proud, and stay inspired.